There's a fish chasing it. We'll see if we can get that one to eat. This one's deeper. So this is, you know, there's deeper and some current. So there's a big donkey right there. We like that. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to catch that fish if he doesn't go in that wood. I can't stop him. You're freaking rocking and rolling, Rockstar. Well, we're back up here in the great state of Alaska, like it says on my fishing license, looking for cohos. We're driving to the river right now. It's kind of a nice afternoon. We're gonna go see what this high tide is bringing upstream. Should be a pretty nice pulse of fish from it sounds, you know, the way it sounds. So I think we're gonna have a good time, a good evening, and probably find a couple of dimers in the bottom end of the river here. So we'll show you those in a minute. Yeah, we will. We are walking to the river. We have a short walk through the forest. 30 minutes. Yeah, it's probably less than that. 15 to 20. And we're gonna go and peer in and see if there's some swimmers in there. Bet there is. So, you know, I get asked, and sometimes people think about, you know, what you can do when you want to fish for silvers in a river. And they get this reputation that they're just always super high energy, crazy, bite everything, 10 out of 10 on the aggression. That's not necessarily true. And it also depends on, you know, where you say. It's kind of not necessarily fair to just say, how do you catch them in a river? Because it really depends. So where we're going right now is probably the bottom mile, maybe bottom 2 miles of a coastal stream. So it's really, really tide impacted. So the river in a tide cycle will change height sometimes 10 feet in, you know, 4 or 5 hours. So the techniques that you can use will change based on the water depth, amount of salt water in the system, and, you know, how big the pulse of fish is that come through. So sometimes on that flood tide, you'll see a lot of fish push into the system, but it's also still pretty salty and they're new into that environment, so they're not necessarily super aggressive at that point. So sometimes you need to do slow presentations, like fly fishing can be really good. Often you're going to have really slow current, so stripping Dalai Lamas and stuff can trigger a bite because it's slow and stays in their face for a while. As the tide goes out, it concentrates a lot of those fish, so they get packed into the holes, some of them get pushed into the current, they start to get more and more aggressive, so faster presentations can work. Jigs, spinners, you know, I guess those are really the two kind of main ways for fishing fast. And, you know, they'll be more aggressive, want to chase. So once you see their attitude change, pay attention to that and, you know, throw on a jig, throw on a spinner, try fly fishing. They can all be really, really good. All right, so we're got to the river. We found a spot that we like. The water is really low. There's a lot of fish in it. So we're gonna kind of walk you through how to fish jigs when there's definitely things you could do that will make them snag almost exclusively, and we want to try and avoid that. So I'm starting with a 3/8 ounce blue, black end run jig. So blue head, black body, black tail. This is a nice glide. We see a lot of fish in it because it's pretty shallow. So, you know, if I cast all the way across the river, that's going to be a problem. Like, we will snag a fish immediately. So we want to avoid that. So when you're fishing jigs, you're getting a reaction bite, you're making them angry. So it's acceptable to throw it on the inside of the fish. So I'm fishing this sort of across the fish in an area where there's not a super high density of them on purpose. I don't want to snag them. It will ruin your hole for a while. It's a pain, it's hard on your equipment. We're gonna avoid that. So we're just gonna kind of pitch right along the side and see if there's an aggressive fish that will chase it out of the group. So there's definitely a likelihood that we can get that to happen. We're just gonna change our retrieve, and you know, if you get one that like, okay, hey, there was a fish that appreciated that, great. Do the same thing. If you get no feedback at all, change up your retrieve. Faster, slower, bigger lifts, smaller lifts. We saw a boat, you know, rolling down the river coming in, and you know, it happens to be our friend Chris Mackey from Leonard's Lodge, and we had a little conversation about stuff. He's got his couple of guests in the boat today, and you know, the gist of the conversation is that the fish this year, with, you know, this is the second lowest water I've ever seen coming up here for 20 years, is different. The conventional wisdom on how to catch fish is not working. You will not be as successful as trying to pay attention. So, you know, we came in here yesterday, and you know, I guess the conventional wisdom would say, hey, there's, you know, the water is significantly deeper right here in front of us than it is where Chris is. So typically we're in the hot spot right here. Deep hole, that's where those fish, particularly the silvers, would live. We came in yesterday and found out that for some reason the top end of that pit where the water comes up and there's a little just channel there is where the more aggressive fish were sitting. So, you know, I was like, hey, go back up there and fish it and see if it's the same as today. So, you know, hopefully the background gets a couple of hookups. But we're going to talk about what to do a little bit more about when there's too many fish in a spot and you don't want to snag them. So, you know, initially, again, we talked about casting on the outside of the group, seeing if there's any really aggressive fish that'll come through. Another thing that you can do is, if you want to cast all the way across, that's right on top of the fish, is keep your rod high and work with some speed to keep the jig above the fish. If you're feeling your rod like click, 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 and wiggle, you're too deep. Oh, there you go. Boom. Fish on feeling up there. We like to see it. So we're gonna keep that jig high on top of them and see if we can just get one of those fish to just react, come up and pick it up. We go there. Another thing that you can do is, if you want to try and, if they're casting across or upstream and keeping it above them, that's going to be a faster retrieve. If the fish aren't responding to that, you can always throw downstream and throw it down into the current and lift it, and it will slow your retrieve down. And see, that's more interesting. There's two fish that just followed it right there. It'll be impossible for you to see, but the dangle and the slower retrieve got them to be more aggressive. I was in their space for a little bit more time, and sometimes that makes them make a choice. Seems like there should be some fish right up here. I'm just gonna kind of do a little prospecting here, seeing if we see anything, which there's quite a bit of glare, so I don't even really see much in the water. But what we were just talking about, those fish, there's that sort of trough right down in here that they were really in. We didn't really go up either, so let's see if it carries up into the top part of it or not. Doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of fish in there, but let's go play up here, because that log came in and that wasn't there last year, so it's starting to dig out a little bit. And sometimes just those small depressions is enough for the fish to stack in there. And we're trying to pay attention and see if we can see anything, and as of right now I don't really. Doesn't mean they're not there, just means I can't see them. There's definitely some snags over there we're gonna avoid. We're gonna work into that log. It's kind of a dangerous game throwing into the wood that way, but it can also be really productive. So if you're not afraid of donating a couple jigs to the river, it can really be worth it. Like that, there he is. And we're just gonna try one up, because sometimes they'll push. Oh, there's a new batch of fish in there, and actually, it probably didn't eat it. It kind of felt like a tail wiggle or something, but there's more back in there now, so that could be not a good call. Okay, we're good now. I think this could play, we'll see. So we moved up a little bit. We're gonna see how this is. So we're gonna approach the water same way, casting close to us at first, working our way across as the amount of the fish in the river let us. So again, this year is a little bit odd. An upstream cast in the shallow water has seemingly been better, which is not normal, but it's what we got. So I think I can see some over there. I'm just gonna keep throwing, seeing if that seam will produce anything. We'll take a few casts here, and if not, we'll probably start working our way down. Still relatively deep over there. Sometimes seeing the river that you know are used to fishing in a much lower water level kind of lets you appreciate how deep some of the holes that you're fishing actually are. Normally the river's 3 feet deeper right here, which means that it's 6 or 8 feet deep where we're casting. Let's try one downstream just for the hell of it. See if there's anybody in there. Pretty slow. So far. There he is, got him. So that one just rolled right out into the flat, and the fish, I threw the jig in there, and the fish kind of broke out of the really dark water where I didn't even see him. Kind of chased it out and then sat on the kind of lighter colored sand. And Dom was like, hey, we should move, you know, you've thrown a few casts in there and there's nothing, like, let's go. And I was like, oh no, I can catch that fish. And the very next cast, I threw it in there, ran it through, and that fish just picked it up, no problem. So paying attention to kind of what the fish are doing and their behavior can definitely be a good thing. Another pretty You usually put up more of a fight than that, but beautiful fish nonetheless. We're gonna kind of just go down a ways, you know, like a half mile probably. So there's this flat and it's loaded with fish. Sometimes you can catch fish on the flats just bouncing your jigs through, and you're kind of, if you have an opportunity to just walk the river down and cast, you're just playing a sheer numbers game at this point. We're gonna not sit, target anything. We're gonna fish exactly the same way, and we're gonna throw it over 10,000 fish, and maybe one of them will eat it. It's not the highest like success rate, but when you're moving and grooving, why not? A lot of pinks in this flat though. There's silvers mixed in it. But now it gets a little bit too shallow. There's not even any fish, so we're gonna jam. We'll see you at the next spot. We're still cruising our way down. This is a little bit of a better area, so we're gonna just kind of slow it down just a little bit and kind of fish it like you would if you were spay fishing. Cast, step, step. There's a lot of fish. That one might be a biter right there. He chased it. So we're gonna see if we can present that one a little differently and get him to smack it. It's pretty deep, so it's hard to see, but that's okay. Should be somewhere in this zone. There he is. Ah, bummer. Well, that was the one. All right, step, step. Cruise down. Sometimes you can, you know, the density of fish in here is not as like, oh, that was a humpy. Crazy. Like we can fish this whole thing a little more normal. There we go. I think that's a humpy too. I don't know. If it's not, it's a small silver. What are you? A little coho. Come on. Let's go find your bigger brother. Come on, go fast. Try and be friendly and kind to the fish. They won't be friendly and kind to you, but we don't deserve it. There we go. Uh-oh. So that one, pretty sure is foul hooked. So learning opportunity. Try and fight that fish quickly because it's, you know, difficult. It does happen. We try to make it happen as little as possible. Oftentimes it will just come out, just like that. So, you know, using heavy enough line, I guess, is probably worth talking about in that situation. So where you can kind of just deal with it is better than, you know, using 8-10 pound test and, you know, being locked into a half-hour battle that's going to kill that fish. You know, that guy's just fine.
What is heavy enough?
Heavy enough is like 15 to 20 pound, I would say, for coho fishing. Especially up here. I mean, 15 pound fish, 18 pound fish are not unheard of, or sometimes even uncommon. So this is a deep pit, which normally I'd be all about it. I'm like, all right, cool, we should sit here and we should fish. But this year, that type of water has just not been where they've been. Well, they've been in there, but the biters. and we're after the biters, so. Starts to shallow up here, so in an odd way, I'm kind of thinking, okay, it could happen in here for us. And I'm hoping that it does. A little pink chased it. There's some big cohos in this tail out. We're gonna stop for a couple of casts, seeing if we can make something happen here. I'm gonna try and just work a couple of different angles through and see if changing how the jig comes through the hole will have an impact on how they react to it. So every cast will be a little different. Some will come across the hole more, at a right angle. Some will come down at them more in line. So far, the kind of, there was one. Sending it down through the foam line and letting it drift through would be good. I typically for silvers don't bring floats with me, so I don't have any, but this year I'm kind of wishing that I did have a float or two. This might be really good water to just, run a really short leash, even with a smaller jig, maybe even, 1/4 ounce or 1/8, something like that, and just floating it down these foam lines, which is, we've been throwing some Dalai Lamas and having success just dead drifting those. Which in some ways is just a lighter jig that you can throw on a fly rod. These ones appear to be non-biters. I'm really not getting anything to chase, to move. They're just kind of swimming out of the way of it. So we'll keep going. Okay, so we came down, we saw a bunch of fish. Ooh, that one, I thought ate it, but maybe not. So we're gonna just kind of keep doing our thing. We know that there's some good holes below us. Dang. Oh, come on. All right, we had 2 fish eat it in the same cast. I missed them both. Oh, he's on it, come on. Come on. One's gonna eat it right at our feet. There he is, got him. Nice buck. Not happy about it. And we're just gonna put a lot of pressure on this fish. Oh, okay, good. That one was blushed out. We weren't gonna keep that one anyway. Okay. See how our hole is faring after that. Probably not well. Oh God, so many humpies. Keep them away. Oh. Man, there's a lot of fish pushing up. Yeah, oh, there we go, I can catch one. Let's see, where are you going? Are you trying to get out of the way or get angry with it? Oh no. Sometimes these shallow fish, like, you know, you can watch them and you watch them come in and chase it, and then when they grab it, you set the hook poorly. Look at these ones chasing it. There's like 6 of them. They didn't grab it, but I swear it is sometimes easier to not see them. So sometimes when we're out here, we see a lot of people that are looking to experience more success on the river. One of the things that you can definitely do to up your, you know, fish catching is being ready, you know, being able to cast well first and being ready to fish as soon as your jig lands. So I'm ready, I'm fishing, okay? This is one of those zones where there's not really anything to worry about in terms of snags, but when the river's shallow, sometimes you get that reaction bite as soon as that jig hits the water. They'll just come and get it. So being absolutely ready is really key. So if you watch, bail's open, I cast, I close it even a little bit before it lands, so that way I can be on the reel to take out any slack and be ready to fish. I'll do that a little differently if it's really deep and fast and I need that jig to sink, but right now I don't. It hits the water, it has a fast sink rate. I need to be ready as soon as it's in the water. There's a lot of times you'll just pick it up and there'll be a fish on it. So hot tip as we're working our way down the river. Oh, that was fucking cool. Right there. Big one. All right, we're kind of getting towards the end of our light, end of our video. We're gonna just fish this trough, kind of like how we fished the top one. See what's going on in here. There's a fish chasing it. We'll see if we can get that one to eat. This one's deeper. So this is, you know, there's deeper and some current. So there's a big donkey right there. We like that. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to catch that fish if he doesn't go in that wood. I can't stop him. Thank you. Nice big buck. Fortunately, the bucks tend to try and think that they're just a bigger hoss than you are. The hens run. And a lot of times the bucks are, but in terms of going into the lumber, it's worse with the hens than it is the bucks. So I think we got this fish. Woo! We'll just skate him up. That is a good one. Pretty good one. We're gonna take this one home as some dinner. We'll eat him tonight on the barbecue. Not the biggest, I thought he was bigger, but still a nice, really pretty fish, fresh out of the saltwater. He'll taste great for the group tonight.